I just want to say at the outset what an absolute pleasure it is to be here at Diggers. It's coming up to 10 years since Kingsgate last presented here. And for those of you that may remember our story or vaguely remember our story, it's been a fairly interesting 10 years since that last presentation. The other thing that Kingsgate is quite proud of too with the Diggers and Dealers Forum is that we've been coming here in one form or another since the early 90s when Diggers kicked off. So it's always been a great opportunity for us to bookmark where we are in the gold mining story, and I'm really pleased to have that opportunity again today. So let's get straight into the story. I think we can dispense with the obligatory forward-looking statements. Okay, so who and what is Kingsgate? For those of you who may not know our story, we've got a market cap of around 400 million Aussie. We've got about $43 million in cash and bullion and doré, $54 million approximately in debt, and we've got a capital structure of about 260 million shares on issue and about 10 million options and warrants on issue as well. That's quite small by peer comparison, and that's something that we are proud of, and I will talk about that a little bit more later on in the presentation. Our share register, of course, is the usual suspects. It's a mix of institutional holders, high net worth individuals, sophisticated retail holders, and recently we've picked up some broker coverage, which has been great, and that'll make sense as we get into the story a bit more. We're really delighted to be back on the radar of both Canaccord and Wilsons, and a special thanks to those guys. We have two key assets. We used to have operating assets here in Australia, but we are a bit different to some of our peers that are here at this conference. We have the Chatree gold mine, which is located in central Thailand, and we have the highly prospective Nueva Esperanza project, which is located, it's a silver gold project located in that Maricunga belt of Chile. Highly experienced board and management team as well, and we've been working to rebuild that in recent times as we come back to life. And I want to give special mention to two people in that team. The first is Dan O'Connell. He's our newly appointed Chief Financial Officer. Dan's been with the company for just under 2 weeks. And the other one is Gillian Terry, who started with us earlier this year and has come on board as our General Manager, Geology. Both Dan and Jill are ex-Newcrest, and we were the beneficiaries, I suppose, or an unexpected beneficiary of the Newmont-Newcrest merger in picking those two people up, and I can tell you they are already making an enormous and impressive impact at Kingsgate, so we're very delighted to have them, and I know they're watching out there today, so I'd like to welcome them on board again as well. Okay, so let's jump into the assets. Chatree, the gold mine in Thailand. And look, I just want to preface this slide first by saying that Kingsgate successfully operated the Chatree gold mine between 2001 and 2016. And in that time, we produced approximately 2 million ounces of gold and around 10 million ounces of silver. Unfortunately, it was closed at the end of 2016 by the Thai government. And rather than go into all of the history of that, suffice to say that we were able to work through an international legal process with the Thai government to have that asset restored to us, and I'm pleased to say that asset was restored to us in March last year when we recommenced production on our low-grade stockpiles. But of course, having a big operating plant sitting idle in a very wet, very humid tropical environment for the better part of 7 years isn't good for it. So from 21 and 22, we've been effectively refurbishing the operating plant, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But Chatree itself is located in the highly prospective Loei Fold Belt, which is a belt that starts up in Laos, sort of curves down through the centre of Thailand and into the bottom of Cambodia, and we're smack bang in the middle of it, which is fantastic. In fact, we're quite good mates with our friends at Emerald, who are just over the road in Cambodia, and just want to give them a quick shout. What a great operation they've built over there, and they've been very helpful in giving us a bit of advice on getting back to operating in Thailand as well. So we are. We're the only operating gold mine in that whole belt, and it's a very prospective belt. It's part of the Indochina block. We've been there for a very long time. and that's given us a lot of, I guess, first and only mover advantage by being there. We have a large plant. Look, our head grade has traditionally been around the sort of 0.8 grams per tonne. So what that means to get a steady state production of around 120,000 ounces of gold, we've got a monster plant up there. We've got two plants that sit next to each other. It's a fairly standard flow sheet, carbon in leach. Plant number 1 was built way back in 2001. Its original nameplate capacity was 2.3 million tonnes. Plant number 2 was built in 2011 as part of an expansion. Its nameplate capacity is 2.7 million tonnes. So together, that's 5.5 million tonnes, but we've historically run that at 6 million tonnes or better, and that's what yields us that good steady state production. Of course, that's what we want to get back to as we continue to gear up now. One of the other things we have, and we've always been really proud of this, is we've got a very highly educated local Thai workforce. One of our stated policies over the years has always to have at least 90% of our workforce from within 10 to 20 kilometres of the mine, and we've been able to achieve that. Certainly even now as we are ramping up again, we've got 80% of our workforce from the surrounding villages, and even in its heyday back in 2016 when it was operating before, we had close to 1,000 people up there. There was only 6 expats. The rest were obviously mostly Thai nationals and some people from neighbouring countries. So we've always been really proud of that. And for us, look, we're on the cusp, hopefully, of what we like to think of as a really transformational quarter. So we have been, over the past 15, 16 months, just processing low-grade stockpile, basically washing our face as we finalise the renovations, restoration of our 2 operating plants. And to support our ramp-up, and I've got to say, I heard Wayne Bramwell from Westgold say yesterday that they've got 170 pieces of big yellow cat equipment, and I was just blown away by that. We haven't quite got that. We've got 41. We don't have it all yet, but of course, again, sitting around in a tropical environment not being used, our plant wasn't so great. So we have successfully negotiated a deal with Caterpillar to get 41 new pieces of kit. And in fact, right now, I'm told we've got 5 777s, a couple of D8 dozers and some graders arriving to site there as well. So that's all part of our ramp up. That'll make sure our giant plants are continuously fed, and we're very excited about that. So that's kind of the operating side of Chatree, and we're expecting certainly in the next 2 quarters for grade to improve, and certainly the ounces are already up, so that's very pleasing. One of our sort of growth stories, of course, and this goes back to being the only gold company, operating gold company in Thailand, and having been there a long time, we've been able to put our foot on all of the good exploration ground and areas around the place. So we've got over 1,200 square kilometres of tenements. We've got 17 active tenements within 20 kilometres of Chatree, so that's really important. It's easy distance to truck. And we've had Jill working her fingers to the bone, methodically going back through the metallurgical, geochemical and hydrogeochemical processes, looking at existing data, carving out some targets that we want to spend particular time and focus on, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. I know it's hard to see on the map, but Chatree itself is kind of that brown smudge in the sort of top centre, and what we've been targeting is an extension of the Chatree system to the southeast. They're hard to see, but there's a couple of prospects there called Chalawan, Kumpi and BR, and we've been targeting that. We've been doing a lot of RC drilling, and we've been getting some really pleasing results. In fact, we do think that it's part of a larger system, and I'll talk about that in a cross-section next slide, but that's where the main focus has been. At the same time, we've also been remodelling the Chatree A-pit. So the A-pit was where we were mining previously when we were closed in 2016, and it's kind of in the centre north of the Chatree complex itself. We know there's pockets of high grade in there. We've been turning it into a pincushion. We've been grade control drilling all over the place with that, and Jill's got Cube Consulting remodelling that. We hope to have that yesterday, of course, but that's likely to pop out in the next few months, and that will better inform what our mining schedule looks like for the next 2 to 3 years. And we know there's some supergene enriched high-grade zones in there, and we'll be chasing those as hard as we can. Of course, the other thing we want to do is build out our life of mine. So we want to do a full remodel of the Chatree ore body. At our current reserves and resources, which we've got 1.3 million ounces of gold in reserve, we've got 3.4 million ounces of gold in resource. That gives us approximately a 9 to 10 year life of mine if we don't do anything else. and of course we'll be working to build inventory as we go forward. So we're quite excited about that. That's kind of our near mine organic growth pathway. As I say, this is just a quick cross-section of the Chalawan and BR prospects, just in that sort of southeast section near the mine. They're approximately 2 to 3 kilometres from the processing plant, so easily truckable distance to get them in, and we've been getting really consistent grades. We've been working very hard RC drilling. When the dry season comes around later this year, we'll be putting some diamond drills down deeper. We think we're sure that the mineralisation extends to depth. This is part of our proof of concept that this is an extension of the Chatree system, and in fact Chalawan itself we know is the arm of an anticline, and it's plunging at depth towards the BR prospect, so we'll be looking to prove that up in the short term, and in fact next year we'll be looking to possibly build this into its own complex and maybe do a resource estimate for it. But certainly that's where the focus will be, and we think there's a very strong growth pathway. The other bit of work that's going on concurrently is we're working on having this converted into a mining lease. Again, given its proximity to the processing plants, in fact it's closer to the processing plants than some parts of our A pit, make this the logical next step for our growth plan. So that's our exploration side of things. Just a quick one. Thailand's a really relationship-driven country, and it's all about how you interact, and of course there's no mining if there isn't a social licence to operate and if there isn't proper community relations and things like that. And one of the things I want to say about that, I hear a lot of companies talk about it, and you know, we've been doing it for 30 years, certainly before it was trendy. But one of the things, or several of the things that we've done, and I think have done very well, is that over the years we've sponsored a whole range of microeconomic programs. You know, we've built schools, we've built extensions to hospitals, we've built a water bottling and filtration plant. You know, we've helped with animal husbandry, agricultural projects, and all of that sort of thing. And one of the things that we have to do, because we have a very large community near the mine, is if we need a permit or a licence extension, we've got to hold a community town hall. And that means we've got to get all the people near that part of the mine into a town hall, and we've got to tell them what we're doing, and they've basically got to vote on it to see whether we get that licence approval or extension. And I can say we held a town hall for a permit that we needed in February this year. We had more than 1,000 people turn out for that town hall, and I'm pleased to say that we got more than 900 people vote for us. So we were very pleased with that, and I think the success for that comes in part through the longevity and the effort that we've put in over the 30 years. And our head of community relations up there is a lovely Thai gentleman, tells me that there are 5,000 houses within 10 kilometres of the mine, and he assures me that they've been, or we've been, to every one of those houses at least once, you know, over the course of the mine operating. And of course that's how you build a very strong social licence to operate and maintain it. Jumping across the Pacific now to our other asset, the Nueva Esperanza development project. And look, to be fair about this, this was the future of the company. When we hit our speed bump with Thailand in the middle of last decade, we were working furiously on getting this project to a feasibility stage and looking to build it. I just want to give you a little bit of history on it. We bought it in 2011. It was a bit of a patchwork. We put it together with some ground from Kinross and Anglo. But when Kinross had this in the late 90s, it was the largest silver mine in the world. In fact, those guys pulled 40 million ounces out of it in about 13 months, which is incredible. We were drilling it, and we found gold fairly early on in our sort of exploration program. One of the things our geos told us is that probably from the early days there wasn't a lot of assaying for gold. So we're very confident that there's definitely more gold inventory there to be built. And in fact, even now, Nueva remains in the top 10 world's largest underdeveloped silver deposit. So we're looking at that. We're doing a current resource update based on historical data. Cube Consulting's got that again. We're looking at how we would roll out an exploration program in the next season. But one of the things that's really important to us is, because we have survived a whole range of near-death experiences with our situation in Thailand, is we're keen now that we're starting to cash flow and build cash again in Thailand, is not to blow it all on this too quickly. So we're currently exploring options to unlock its value for shareholders, one of which is possibly listing it separately or spinning it out of the company and giving our shareholders exposure to what could be a very interesting and a very large silver play going forward. So we love that project. We're very keen to bring it forward. So what's our value proposition? What makes us different to the others? As I say, we're now back in the world of the living. We had our first cash positive quarter. I know that's, you know, for some of the bigger companies, it's not much, but it's very exciting for us. It means we are back. We are now fully funded. We recently got a debt facility away with Nabari. We're delighted to do that, $35 million US dollar debt facility, which sees us, you know, meet our growth and our ramp-up objectives, certainly at Chatree, with some money left over. And again, I said at the start, we've got a tight capital structure. One of the things that Kingsgate's been really keen not to do too often is to go to the capital market. In fact, we've only been to the capital market once in a decade, and as I say, we've only got 260 million shares out there. That's about a third, maybe a quarter of some of our other peers. So, and the idea behind that is that when we do have free cash, which hopefully isn't far away, is that we can do meaningful things with it, whether that's via distribution or certainly capital restructuring, which is high on our mind at the moment. The other thing is we've gone fully commando on the gold price. Obviously the markets have had the wobbly boot on for the last few days, but we're unhedged, and we think that there's certainly indicators there that gold will stay strong into the future, and at the moment we're riding our luck on that. As I mentioned, we are in the middle of a massive production ramp up. We think that this quarter and next will be certainly transformational for us. It'll be helping us get back to a strong, steady state production. We'll have the two plants going as hard as they can. We want to get over to 6 million tonnes. In fact, we want to get to 7 million tonnes. We want to make this thing a stonker. And that's underpinned by our deal with Caterpillar. We've got new equipment arriving today. We'll have all of this equipment in place by the end of the year, and we'll be feeding those two big hungry mills as hard as we can. We've got a very strong exploration program underway. As I said, we know the Chatree system extends out to the southeast. Jill and her team will be working on that as hard as they can. We've got so much area under exploration. We know it's good. We want to make sure that we maximise that, certainly in the near term. We want to vend that into a new mining lease, and that'll be the future production profile. That'll help us grow life of mine, help us grow reserves, help us grow resources. And of course, Nueva. We don't want that to be a break or a handbrake on the share price. We know it's sitting there, it's a holding cost on the balance sheet, but we're motivated to do something with it. We think that we're starting to get the right team together for that. We've got interest to build that and bring that forward, and that's certainly what we're doing. So it's great to be here, and I'd just like to sort of conclude by saying, as I said, here we go, Kingsgate. We've been here since day one. We've had our ups and downs, but no better forum to talk about the future of the company. We think it's pretty bright. We're in booth 102. If you've got any questions, we'd love to see you, and thanks again for the opportunity to talk to you today.